Hello, everybody. I am so stoked to be here again. Welcome to my YouTube lives. This is a fun episode YouTube video. I don't know. This is fun. I'm happy to be here. We are doing an Ask Me Anything. So if you are in the chat, hello. If you're watching this live, this is dictated by y'all. So go ahead and say hi in the chat if you're here. I can't wait to get started. If you do not know me, my name is Ashley, and I am an Airtable and automation expert. And I specifically help coaches. So any type of coach in the online industry. So I've worked with pickleball instructors, sex therapists, sex coaches, business coaches, weight loss coaches, all different types, all different types. And I absolutely love Airtable for all of the amazing things it can do for client management and really for everything. I have not used a single spreadsheet in my business over the last 4 years, and I use Airtable for absolutely everything. And there's just nothing it can't do. So I have some pre-submitted questions that people often ask me about using Airtable for the client management. But hi, everybody in the chat. Hi, Jamar. Hi, Tashina. If you have questions, if you want to have me riff off something that you are struggling with in Airtable, or if you have any questions about could Airtable do this, should I use Airtable versus Dubsado, any type of question that you have, this is just going to be a fun little ask me. My phone just dropped. A fun little ask me anything about Airtable and all things Airtable. So before we get started, actually, no, let's not. I'm just going to jump into the first question that's been on my mind because a lot of people have been coming into my DMs recently with very specific questions about tech. How does Airtable compare to Dubsado? Do I need contracts if I use Airtable? When it comes to client management, what else do I need and how much can Airtable replace? This is a fantastic question. And I want to address it now that Airtable really connects a lot of things. It does replace some things, and it's like a software that it does so many things, but you still need other tech to run your business. And that's super important. So Airtable is not going to replace your call scheduler. It's not going to replace your checkout platform or how you send invoices, and it's not going to replace your contracts. So if you're using something like Dubsado, which is sends contracts, it says it's like an all-in-one software. I'm really, really wary of all-in-one softwares because there's just not simply one that exists. Even Airtable doesn't do everything. It does a lot of things. It does a lot of things very well. But what I love about Airtable is that it's able to kind of be your hub and your central source of truth. So while you let all of these different pieces of tech do their job well, you can bring all the data into Airtable and have that central source of truth that we're talking about. So if you have any questions in the chat, feel free to let me know. But really what I typically see with a good tech stack for a coach is having something like Dubsado, but using it not for the way that everybody tries to use it for. So don't use it for its fancy lead capture forms and all of the things it can do. All it should do is send contracts and send invoices. The rest would be handled in other platforms and or inside of Airtable, because what Airtable does is then we say when a contract is signed, go ahead and add it to a client profile. So we have this really beautiful client profile, which I'll show in a second. We have a client hub that I love. But really Airtable just becomes your source of truth for all of the other things that are happening with all of your other tech. Airtable will replace your Google Forms, any type forms that you have. It has internal forms. And it will also cut down on some of your Zapier automations because there's internal automations inside of Airtable as well. So the pricing for Zapier is a little less competitive. It's not that great. But if you can do as many automation side of Airtable as possible, then that's really cool. And you get to save on some Zap costs as well. So Coach Tashina says, I set up the new client hub. How can I get what was in the old one? I had client call set up. Yeah, go ahead and Tashina, ask that in the program. That's very specific to, that's a great question overall, which I can talk about in general, which is if you are an Airtable connoisseur, if you've been using Airtable for a while, you might have these different old outdated bases. So much has happened with Airtable. There's been so many new things, maybe new templates. For example, we have been selling a version of this client hub template for years now, and we recently just completely overhauled it to have interfaces, to have more streamlined automations, because when we first made our template, interfaces didn't exist. And the certain ways that you could streamline automations didn't exist. And so the question is how do we kind of merge all of those things? And there's two main ways that you can do it. And specifically, if you work with me, there's so much nuance with Airtable and your systems and like what your business needs. We actually have like a support ticketing system, a support pass, where you can send me your base and be like, "Hello, like, should I restart or should I add on to this? Like, what do I do?" And I can look at your Airtable. I'm an Airtable whisperer, basically. And I'm like, change this, make this, or like, yeah, it's probably best for you to completely start over. But so there's delicate balance of, do you totally start fresh? Because sometimes you have been using an Airtable base for years and years, and even though you've been using it for years, there's a lot of like fields that are really messy that you're like, when does that get updated? How does that get updated? Like there's just a lot of mess. So sometimes it can feel good to start fresh. But for some people, they've been like really rocking with like a pretty streamlined, great hub that they've been using in Airtable, and they can just figure out how to like make little enhancements, like create an interface instead of like totally starting from scratch. So those are like there's so many different ways that you can bring data in, all of those things. She says also, audience, if you are in Ashley's program, get in there. She's awesome. I'll share a little bit about what we have, like what is available to work with us. I'm just gonna, there'll be a link to this in the description below, but we have a client hub, which a lot of the questions are kind of stemming from this. So we have this client hub that's in Airtable. With our client hub, everything about your clients is organized in one central spot and nothing slips through the cracks. So your clients have a super seamless onboarding experience. They feel taken care of. Your clients get results because you are tracking their experience. Because I really believe like the coaching industry isn't dying, bad group coaching offers are. And your clients really expect a high touch experience and want you to prove that you get the results that they promise. And Airtable is more than just a spreadsheet. It is more than what you think it is. I promise you, it is so deep. It is so complex. It's so rich and robust. It can do so many things. Really, every single coaching client, if you're a coach, you need our client hub. Airtable handles your automated onboarding, one-click client profiles, so you can pop them open and see every moving piece about your clients. Client results tracker is automated offboarding and resigns that make you money. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow. I'm going to show you what the actual automations look like. And then depending on what your offer includes, you can do automated applications, automated one-on-one call follow-up notes, group calls, like making a searchable group call goldmine, automated support tickets and feedback reviews. There's so much. So if you have any curiosity, if you're here live, about like, can you talk a little bit more about like this, and can I see what that looks like? Let me know. This is just like an open forum, open Q&A forum. So that's one of like, that's the program. So we have the hub that you can buy as a template, but we really recommend getting our 3-month support pass as well. So you have me in your back pocket as you're setting it up and customizing it to you and your unique offers. Jamar in the chat asks, what about schedulers? This is a great question, kind of going back into like, what is my Ashley approved tech stack? A good like hack and rule of thumb, because there's so much tech out there. Sometimes y'all surprise me. You're like, I'm using like, and they always don't have like vowels in them. It's like, I'm using like foot.io or something. I'm like, I've never heard of this, but like what I always do is I always check, go to Zapier and say Zapier Airtable and then insert the tech. And what's helpful to see is like, I will show you, actually, I'll show you a real example of using this for a call scheduler. I have the answer to this, but I also kind of want to show you how I'm getting to that answer. Is if I Google Dubsado Airtable Zapier, because I know that Jamar uses the Dubsado scheduler, what I get to see is I get to see all of they're called triggers. So contract signed, new project is lead, project status updated, new payment received, new project is job. I don't see anything with Dubsado about how to send call notes into into Airtable. What we really want to make sure that you're able to do is, with any of your tech, we want to make sure that like the data can get into Airtable. Alternatively, my favorite one is Acuity. Acuity or Calendly both work well, depending on your pricing. If you are a coach that has a bunch of co-coaches, needs to like manage a bunch of different people's payment options and availability with your co-coaches, I would highly recommend Acuity. We've been using it for years, and like what I love about certain tech is that it can really grow with you, and I find that like Acuity can really grow with you. You can see here there's all of these triggers, right? So appointment started or appointment canceled, new appointment, appointment rescheduled, coupon code, product order, package code. Just go to triggers. You can see all of these different things. Dubsado has literally none of that. So even though Dubsado is like an all-in-one and has a call scheduler, I don't like the call. I also don't like the Dubsado scheduler as a user. But I also don't like that it's not Airtable friendly. There are some hacks and workarounds on how to get the call scheduler data out of Dubsado and into Airtable, which we've actually shown in our support pass before. But I really recommend using Acuity. You can use Calendly as well. The only thing about Calendly, and this is like when I'm going toe to toe, I always start with Zapier first because I'm like, what are the options? And I'll show you that Calendly has the options for invitee canceled, invitee no show, and invitee created. What it doesn't have is appointment rescheduled. So what we do, we have in our call notes in our client hub, we have you automate all of your one-on-one calls into Airtable. Now, if a client cancels the call, that happens. What it can do, what a Zap can do, is can update Airtable and say, "Hey, this appointment has been canceled," and it can update the record. It can also update the record with Acuity if the appointment is rescheduled, which happens a lot. So people reschedule, and you want to make sure that the data gets updated automatically. You can do that with Acuity because it has the option. You just can't do it with Calendly. So some of these things, like I really like to talk about when I talk about systems and tech, is that I have biases because I'm looking at your tech from like what is the most scalable and what is the most automation friendly. That is the lens that I look at tech. But you might have different priorities. There might be a pricing thing where you're like, is it worth it to spend the extra, I don't know how much it is, $7 a month for this like this acuity issue? Like there's like so many different reasons why. Or you might say like, I have been just like the historical data that I have in Calendly is super important, or all of my like it's just not worth it to make the move right now. So even though I know Acuity is the more scalable option, right now I'm going to stick with Calendly, or right now I'm going to stick with Dubsado. So I used to be a little more intense about it of like why like get off your tech that isn't scalable, but it's just important to know like before you like if you're committing to a software, why are you in it, and is it going to be scalable, and does the price make sense? Because you also have to think about when you're moving software. This happens a lot with email marketing platforms. ActiveCampaign is so expensive and they keep raising their prices. Why? Why, y'all? For a bad product. But we have ActiveCampaign. I want to move off of it. I want to move into ConvertKit. Like that is my goal, or Kit now. That's my goal. I know that it's going to be cheaper for me. I know like it's going to, but it's like not the thing that's going to like make me the most money right now. My friend Dama always says like moving your email marketing platform is not a money making, it's like not a money making activity, which I agree with. But so it's just interesting to see like you just want to know like don't feel bad if your tech isn't like 100% scalable, 100% automated, but just know that if you're thinking about different tech, I always look at like Airtable needs to be your source of truth. So how do we get all of this information into Airtable? And that's a good way to start. Jamar says, I wonder if I should switch to Acuity because I give intensives every 6 months in my membership. Wonder if I could automate or manage that with Airtable and Acuity. Yeah, Jamar, you absolutely can. With Acuity, there's just so many different things that you can do. Because Acuity is also very it's a lot more friendly with like coupon codes and like products, and like they have subscriptions, so you can look at if you want to Google like Acuity subscriptions. That's something that we've done in the past where it's like, or you can even give them a discount code and just like have them, link it every 6 months. And specifically with you, Jamar, and I'll kind of zoom it out. Jamar has a YouTube management membership and gives intensives every 6 months. And what I want to see in your client hub, which actually let me pull up an example of a client hub just so I can show you. Like I would want to know who's redeemed, like, who's redeemed their 6 month one and who hasn't. And if we need to remind them to use it if they haven't used it yet. Like all of those types of automations absolutely should be done inside of Airtable and inside of your client hub, because that's something that you give people a promise, you give people a bonus, and then like the reminder of like the delivery of that bonus can be like really frustrating, right? Because you're like, am I like have they redeemed it? Who knows? And you just kind of have to remember. So here's an example of our client hub. So this is what the back end of it looks like. And you can see here, we're just kind of on a one-on-one calls tangent, but that's totally fine. So we've got these calls. So these calls, like I said, are getting automatically added into our client hub. And you can see, okay, Ashley has booked her intensives. And then let's pull in, because this is going to be helpful for y'all to see. Let's see. So all of these calls get linked to the person's primary client record. So what that means is if I go over to my primary client record, I can now see all of the notes I have about Ashley. So I can see her start date, that she's active. She has 365 days in the program. And we've got some client notes. And then actually, let me go to the interface. This is just a prettier way to look at it. And we have these one-on-one calls. So you can see, cool, Ashley has done both of her intensives. Her intensives are right here. Let me open it up, and I would have all of the notes about the intensive right here. So you have, like, especially Jamar, if you're doing them every 6 months, you're not going to remember what you what you told them on the last call. But when you have their client profile like this, you seem like an incredible coach. One, because you are, but two, because you can say, hey, 6 months ago, here's exactly what we talked about. How is that going for you? What did you do? Like, and it helps you get, like, move further along. So, and they're going to be like, oh, absolutely. Like, this is amazing. I can't believe he remembered. Like they just feel so seen and taken care of. Jamar says so many people are choosing this plan of the option of, like, having the YouTube intensives. And I'm like, dang, now I have to try to keep up. Yeah. Airtable helps you fulfill the promises. That's something I see a lot with coaches, is I see them offer these bonuses for their launches because they are doing a launch and they want a launch bonus, but the actual delivery and fulfillment of it just can get a little funky. And so by having all of those kind of processes automated inside of Airtable, it just makes it really, really easy to do. So that's for sure what I would recommend there. Any other questions about things people want to see, whether it's related to Airtable, tech, systems, any parts of the client hub or client management in general that you want to tackle? I'll give you all a couple minutes or a couple seconds while I drink my little tea out of my crab mug. It's been really fun. We've been doing these live series for like 2 weeks now, and coming in every day at 12:30 Pacific to talk about different parts of client management and different parts of our client hub. So we'll be sure to link all of those down below so you can kind of check them out. But there is just so much. Yeah. Thank you, Boo. Acuity it is. Yeah. Use Acuity. I find it's absolutely the best. It's always like a little bit of a struggle, and it's even a struggle too if you're moving from spreadsheets. Like, if you're moving from spreadsheets to Airtable, you can be like, but I'm comfortable here, but, like, it's easy. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know how to navigate them. When you probably don't. Your spreadsheets are probably, I've never met someone that's like, I love my spreadsheet. It is perfect. Um, and that migration into a better system can feel like a lot. But I just want to say, like, it's so helpful to keep in mind of, like, what's going to be possible for you on the other side of that. So you don't have to manually send call follow-ups anymore. Like, you don't have to manually remember, like, oh, did this person reschedule? If you use Acuity versus Calendly, like, there's just so many reasons why it's smart to pick the right software. And that's something that I see all of the time. Bringing it back to Airtable, people think that they can do what I do in Airtable, in ClickUp, or in Notion, and you can't because it looks like you can, but you hit a wall. And what's nice about working with a systems expert, and I'm so happy that you're hearing from here, is, like, I know all the things it's possible. And so it's really important to not just say, like, oh, the people on Threads say they really like managing my clients in Notion, so, like, let's do that. Like, I'm telling you, this thing can do so much, and it's going to scale with you. And it's much better to be in the right systems and scale up rather than them hit a ceiling and you're like, it can't do all the things I need to do, and then do a huge pivot. Emily says, do you have any thoughts on Clarity Flow for async coaching over Voxer? I've never heard of that, honestly. I mean, what I do know that Voxer doesn't have anything. Clarity Flow. Tap here. Let's see. I always check here. Connect Clarity Flow. Interesting. Okay. As a systems person, Emily, I'm excited about this. because Voxer does not have this. So I know nothing else about Clarity Flow. I've never heard of it, but I like that this Zapier integration allows us to say when a new conversation is created in Clarity Flow, add it to my client hub. So basically, you could have a section that is called like async coaching, and every time they send you a message, it could come here, so you could see how much are people using that feature, when's the last time I messaged with them. That's really cool. So I'm into that. Trigger a Zapier's app when a new message is posted to a conversation. Yeah, this looks cool. The other thing to note when you are using when you're like making these decisions, which is kind of an interesting thing that I'm just looking at now, is like, okay, their starter plan is $50 a month. Do I need to pay $50 a month for that type of data? When, like, is that worth it to me? For me, I gut reaction is like, oh, this actually isn't worth it to me. I would stay in Voxer simply because I can be voxing with my clients, and I can just kind of have this up and say like, spoke to them on Voxer, they're doing well. Like you can like add those notes in instead of like having all these fancy zaps, so you're saving that money, especially like $50 a month. $50 to $100 based on this plan seems pricey. Airtable is $24 a month, and so it's super affordable. So those types of decisions always kind of give me pause, but like I like the Zapier integrations for sure. If you think it's worth it to have all that data, or if that makes sense to you, then it looks cool. But that's my thoughts there. Is like I always I want your tech stack to be lean, and so I would still pick Voxer. Yeah, link sent on County Fill. Yeah, it totally depends if your coaching offer is primarily delivered via Voxer, and like it makes sense that you're like, wow, I'm like so much is getting lost, and like like again, kind of what I talked about is that Voxer is cheaper slash free, but it doesn't grow with you. Clarity Flow looks like it could grow with you, and if that's a really big part of it, like yes, I would totally play with that. At least play with it for like a month, like if you like it. And another thing to note is I just know that depending on your audience, uh, some people are just really used to Voxer, and like the barrier of like what's going to be the barrier of entry to getting people to use Clarity Flow. I don't know their onboarding. So it really just depends. But I think especially like I really love being able to have all of those types of messages automated, because that's the same thing with community groups. Community groups is a great example. Um, Also, Emily, I'm dropping the sales page in the chat. I need to see you in the client hub because you said you were joining, and I'm like, we need you in here because we got to get your Airtable built. I'm just kidding, but something that you can do as well is you can automate engagement if you use like Slack or Circle. So you can say if there's a new comment in Circle, add it to my client profiles, and you can also see like their engagement in your community group. So that's cool. Uh, you can't do that with a Facebook group. However, if you have like a group for moms, like moms aren't going to use Slack, or like they don't know how to use Circle. Like they're not to, you know what I mean? Like there's like just certain demographics that are like not going to get out of Facebook. And I'd rather you have an engaged community group in Facebook instead of a one that's not super engaged inside of Slack because nobody uses it. So that's something else to think about with your tech as well. So absolutely, automation, centralized source of truth is a big piece of it, but it's also depending on like user experience and all of those things. Joanna says, you want to give advice on tracking results. I love how you tell me what's important versus what's not. Yes. So one of the big things that your Airtable does, and this is something that is like, if you have this, your program will be unstoppable. You will be the best in the industry, is tracking your client results. So many of us, and if you are here live, if you want to share what your business, like what your offers, what result you promise, even if you don't totally know, I can like tell you a results tracker idea that I would recommend. But really, all of this stuff is like, if you are promising something, if you're promising money, if you're promising to launch your YouTube channel in 90 days, if you're promising I help you set up your Airtable base, you want to be able to prove that people are setting it up. Airtable lets you do that in a way that nothing else can. So you can start to see um like you can see all of your clients, but you can see like how many people have achieved the offer promise, how long does it take people to achieve the offer promise, how much money have people saved, how happy are people after the dates that they've been going on in the coaching program. There's just so many different things that you can track, and you track them all. Again, you track them all inside of Airtable. I'll show you the little forms. You have these results tracker forms, which this is so unique to every business but we walk you through also how to use our ChatGPT prompts to help you like draft a results tracker form that really gets you to see visibly the results that you want to see. We've had like people that help people get like job placements and raises, and just like it's so cool to see all of the different results and like prove your program works. So if you don't have something like that, it's worth getting the Client Hub alone just to go through the results tracking lessons, because it's like you look at data in a way that we're not just saving you time. We're not just saving you and your team time. Yes, that's cool. Yes, that's helpful. However, we want to make sure that your program works. And that's what's going to help you make more sales. That's what's going to help you like have more raving fans, right? So we really love to use our Client Hub for tracking results as well. See, got a question that says, I'm tracking engagement in Circle with Airtable right now, but I'm just storing info. Any idea how I could leverage that data into something insightful? Yes. So I would recommend in your interfaces and in your client profile, have a section, which I think you'll know how to build this now. It's going to be a new group, and have that group be Circle engagement, and say like number of Circle posts, last Circle post, and then it would have a link to everything. There's a couple ways that could be insightful. Is one, you can send automated engagement emails. So you can say, if the last time they engaged in Circle was 30 days ago, send them an email and say, hey boo, because I know that's how you talk to your clients. Hey boo, like I like haven't seen you in Circle in a while. Just a reminder, like this is available for you. Something that's interesting about this is that a lot of businesses are trying to add in automations and automated workflows into their tech. So like I think you might be able to do that in Circle. You could say like, if it's 30 days from now, like Circle can do some of those automations itself, but oftentimes people like platforms make you pay more for those types of automations. So even though things could happen, I know Kajabi has this as well. Kajabi can do automations, but I really recommend doing as much of those types of like client engagement automations in Airtable as much as possible, just because you have, again, that source of truth. So that's how I would do that. And then you could also zoom out too, and you can see, because I think in Circle you have like different spaces. You can just see like overall, you can group it by space and say over the last 30 days, like what space has got the most engagement. Again, you might be able to have those insights through like a Circle dashboard. But I think that those would be the best engagement in things now. And something else that you can also see, I wouldn't pay. Circle's already pretty expensive. I wouldn't pay for all of the upsell things that they have, because Airtable can really do a lot of it, and Circle has a lot of really great automations. They have a lot of Zapier integrations, which are really cool. What was the other thing I was going to say about that? Yeah, have it done in Airtable as much as you can, because also what happens too is there might be a day where you go off of Circle. Like the thing is you're never going to leave Airtable. You're never going to leave Airtable. I'm telling you, I've been in this thing for 5 years. Notion rolls out something new, and I'm like, ugh, let me go compare. Let me see if it does the same things Airtable can do. And I'm always like, thank God it can't. Like it can never, like you will never get off of Airtable. But sometimes there might be like a community platform that becomes better than Circle. Instead of having to move all of your automations, all of those things from Circle, you just have to like move like the community platform. Emily asked thoughts on school. First of all, I don't think I like Alex Hormozy, and I know he's like very involved in it. That's my first notes. But let's look at the school integrations. I remember somebody was looking at it before. Yeah, so there's just not a lot of triggers, because they want to be an all-in-one. I'm always pretty cautious of like the all-in-one tools, because they're not super automation friendly. Their only triggers are if there's a new paid member or answered membership questions. Triggers when a potential member has submitted answers to group membership questions. So let's compare that to Circle. Zapier. So you can see here, we've even got alert and load more. So member removed, space created, new community. We don't use some of those, but like new comment posted, new active subscription, new member paid charge, new member past due, new event created, new event RSVP, new tagged member completed a course, member completed a section, member completed a lesson, new post. Like this is all the stuff we can do. School is just relatively new. And like I said, I think they want to be like an all-in-one checkout platform and community. So they're not prioritizing getting that information out. So it's very unfriendly with Airtable. It's not impossible. We have a new paid member, so you could get that paid member over into your client profile. But if they cancel, you can't say new canceled member, go ahead and find their Airtable profile and update it from active to cancel. And what school might say is like, well, you don't need Airtable if you use school. And I don't believe that's true because of all the other things it can do, like keeping your client notes like this, automating some of those things, having your group calls like this, doing your results trackers. Like it just, I'm really cautious of those all-in-one platforms. And because Airtable can really fill in the gaps and then some if it's able to talk to your tech. So that's my thoughts about that. I feel like I'm gonna get like dragged for saying I don't like Alex Ramosi, but I don't think that's a very like hot take anymore. Cool. Any other questions? This was super fun to just have like an absorbing all of the things questions. Anything else before we wrap up? Like I said, there's just so much that Airtable can do. And Airtable is incredibly robust. But if you don't know what you're doing in it, it's hard to build it correctly. And it's hard to there's like foundational stuff. Like some of you are Airtable beginners. Some of you are intermediates in Airtable. I am the Airtable expert. So you can get close. If you're if you're intermediate with Airtable, you can get pretty far, but you can like really make things more complicated than they might need to be. And really having my eyes and having this template that's already just plug and play. When you buy our Client Hub profile template, all of these exist already in your hub. So all of these tables already exist and you can just toggle off and on the ones that don't work, that aren't relevant. You make a different hub for each of your offers. So you have one for your mastermind, one for your one-on-one coaching, one for your group program. So you have all of these little pods where everything is managed by your clients. And it has so many automations, like I mentioned, that these are all built into your Client Hub template as well. So all you have to do is update them and flip things on. So it's really simple. A lot of people are going through our Client Hub already, and they're getting things set up just in a single sitting, anywhere from like 1 to 2 hours. They're getting their onboarding automated. They're getting their client results trackers set up. Yeah, Jamar says, tell them how I was about to make something complicated as an Airtable intermediate. The thing about y'all Airtable intermediate people is that you know too much for your own good, but then you get messy because you start to add like lookup fields that don't need to be lookup. Like you start to link too many things together, you create too many tables, or you start to create an automation that says when something happens in this table, create a new record over here that triggers this. And just because it can do all of those things, oftentimes it's like the simple system strategy is really important. So just being able to be super clear on like, yeah, you could do it that way. And Jamar specifically, he's in our support pass. I was like, you could do what you're trying to do, but I would rather you just make these 3 things in your interface and show like shortest, average, longest instead of that whatever convoluted thing you were trying to do. Someone asked, is the support pass for one user, or we could have our ops VA in there as well? It's for one business. So Emily, if you have an ops person, they can go through the stuff on your behalf. You guys can both submit support tickets, but your ops person can't like buy it for one business and like set it up for like all of their clients. But yeah, totally. This is built for beginners in mind as well. Especially if you have the support pass. So like a CEO can set this up. You can also just hand it to your ops person and say like, go through this for me. Let me review it. And then they can make the changes and they can ask for the support as well. So we really, really recommend getting the support pass just because, like I said, the template and the training is super robust, but there's just so many things that you can do to customize your Client Hub. And when you have the support pass, you truly have me and my team in your back pocket. We share, like you'll share your Airtable with us so we can look at it and give you very clear instructions that can also be private just to your account. So like you're not like, not everybody is looking at your Client Hub, like it's private just to you. So I always really recommend getting that because beginners can ask us the basics and experts can ask us how to customize and take it to the next level. And intermediate people can be like, can you help me sort out what I think I should be doing in Airtable versus not? So really recommend doing that. Again, the link is in the description to grab that. Yeah, we can't wait. Cool, y'all. Well, this was so much fun. Thank you for being here. If you're watching this Client Hub Spotlight Series live, we have one more tomorrow on the 14th, and that's about setting up your automated offboarding and resign. So I've made $20,000 with this one little resign automation alone, and I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. So be sure to check that out live. And if you're here, the link will be there for the replay as well. But y'all are the best. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk to you soon. And we hope to see you at the Client Hub. If you have any questions, you can drop comments below. You can DM me on Instagram. I'm at Systems Over Stress, and we'll see you on the next one.